everybody, and welcome to the Plotting Shed. Today, I'm joined by my regular guest, Kevin Ellis from the Land and New Homes Network, and Thomas May. And I'm also joined by Bex Cross and Tom Durrant from Doctor. You may know them as DCTR or even Dr. Photo, but it's lately come to light that they hate the letter O. So anyway, maybe we can expand on that later.
Oh dear.
Yes. I'm so sorry. So welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Maybe I can kick off with asking you a little bit about what you do, just because it's, if I try and do it, I'll mess it up.
Yeah, not a problem at all. So Bex is our creative director, and I'm Tom, the managing director at Dr. Photo Limited, otherwise known as DCTR or Doctor, depending on who you're talking to. You probably know us as Dr. Photo. So for the last sort of 7 or 8 years, we've been known as Dr. Photo. And then a couple of years ago, during the pandemic, actually, right at the beginning, we rebranded. The reason for that really was because for years and years, we were specialists in photos. We still are. We've got a Dr. Photo platform. But we've also built a team around us that, it's a creative team really, specialises in CGI and design, for developers, land and new homes teams, and actually estate agents as well, because we can work on rebranding and that kind of thing. So really, we are the studio for the property industry, is basically the simple way of putting it. If you want something quite designery or visual, we're your go-to guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So basically, you moved away from photography. It's much broader now.
Absolutely, yeah. So I would say that the Dr. Photo part of our business is the bread and butter. So to a lot of clients out there they still don't know that we do the other bits too. My mistake.
Well, we're going to cover that also.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so we've got a platform. It's called Dr. Photo, and it's not just land and new homes departments, actually estate agents, resi, commercial, even some developers log into it, upload their photos, we can retouch them, we add furniture to them, we can turn them into dusk, we can finish half-built houses. That is Dr. Photo, and that's sort of what's made us famous over the years.
So all these pictures that we see of these lovely estate agents' properties at dusk or whatever, you might be behind them.
We are behind a big chunk of them.
Yeah. Good. Love it.
Yeah. But it's for us, it was a natural progression.
Yep.
So we're creatives. My background is in marketing and design. So I was marketing manager at PepsiCo and KFC, and it was John Durrant, which is a fairly famous name in the industry, been around for 50, 60 years, very loud on LinkedIn, sorry Dad, who started it. And it was him that I came on board with about 5 or 6 years ago. And like I say, it's been a natural progression of taking on creatives who could do other things within the industry. So there are 3 interior architects that work in our business, and naturally we've been able to grow the level of services that we offer.
Was that candidate driven that sort of led that sort of decision, or how did that all come about?
A couple of reasons.
Quite a shift change, isn't it?
Yeah, so basically what happened is I worked for KFC before starting at Dr. Photo.
Apparently you made a cracking...
Yeah. Do you know the recipe?
Yeah, you made a cracking recipe.
I worked in innovation, so
Right.
I might know 1 or 2 things that, are probably worth quite a lot.
Do you know the secret ingredient?
It's a great organisation, actually, based in Woking, a really cool brand. They've come a long way the last couple of years. Anyway, great. I'm not going to focus on KFC. We're here to talk about property. But the point is, I was actually, I was made redundant. Unfortunately, there was a big cut at the time. And Dad said to me, come on, son, come and work for me. I think I've got something here. Dad's background was an estate agent. He was then a photographer for 13 years. And at the same time as offering his photography, he was asked to take skips out of photos and that kind of thing. He was literally doing it at the kitchen table for years and years, topping up his photography income, which is very kind of changes a lot over the seasons. And anyway, I thought, God, I've just been like marketing brand manager, why... maybe I should be taking skips off driveways. Let's do that. And I always thought it was a bit of an interim thing before I went and found another corporate job somewhere else. But actually, I loved it pretty much since day one, and picked it up really quick, went on loads of training, took up retouching CGI piece and basically learned it all, got really passionate about it. And I wrote my business plan in the first couple of months and basically said, AI is coming in 5-6 years. It was a 5-year business plan. AI is coming. I want to diversify this into a marketing agency. And it's pretty much what we've done. So now we've got AI in our platform and we've diversified into marketing agency. Business plans, I think, are great as a path and a vision. We stuck to it, and now there's a team of 10 of us in the studio over in Camberley, in Surrey.
Yeah. AI is just incredible, isn't it?
It's insane.
It is. I even wrote Chris a song.
You did?
I wrote Chris a song on AI.
You did? I can't really talk about it.
We can't talk about the song, but...
Was it really rude?
It wasn't rude, it's just I had a bad week last week with some of the plumbing in my house. Let's leave it. Leave it at that.
Yeah.
But AI, the speed, how do you sort of keep up with that, and how do you sort of...
The capabilities of AI, like you said, it can be good for fun, for doing poetry, doing, things like that. And then it actually can seriously help you in terms of property and business. Yep. We've used it in Dr. Photo. The AI side of photos is insane, how someone can just upload a photo in seconds. They can get a blue sky and a facelift. It's just how we're going to deal with it in our industry and how we use it properly. Yep. Because I do think it can take away from what we want to do, which is more design-based, more creative-based. And it's just understanding AI, not ignoring it, because that's just being a bit ignorant. Yep. I think it's embracing it, but kind of using it in a really nice way to make sure that we're kind of...
Yeah, that's that thing, isn't just because you can access a tool doesn't mean to say that you got to take it literal. I know I was talking to somebody on editorial stuff, and I think there was even a speech in the Commons recently that was read out completely from AI, and somebody obviously spotted it with that it was clearly AI text, but just really fascinating to just even to see how agents and generally are talking about AI now, which you think 6 months ago, I don't really think that in the sector before sort of chat whatever came on and other things, we weren't really in that space. Obviously, you guys are well advanced on it then.
Yeah, well, I read somewhere actually that in 2022 that we kind of slept. I think it was like a sleeping year. And then now in 2023, it's almost going to be an embracing AI more. So, and it's just like going to be a new era that's going to kind of, from 2021 to 2023, it's going to just do it. So,
what do you think is going to happen on that in terms of speed? Because obviously it's fast already, isn't it? In terms of what's coming out. How would you envisage that you'll be the beneficiaries of AI sort of this year? Where do you see it, or how do you keep up with that?
I think there are two sides to it, because ultimately there's two sides to the business and how we work as well with our clients. So on one side is the platform. So people can get on a per asset basis, photos, floor plans and that kind of thing. AI already plays a role in that. So instantly, as Beck said, people can upload a photo, it turns around literally within seconds. And the uptake on that has been great. Yep. And it's proven to us that agents don't have much time, and they've got an option there of hand versus AI. And there's a big chunk of agents that would choose an AI over a hand. I guess for us, it's about trying to look to the future about what other things AI can do that we can look to integrate to a degree. As I say, it's a really difficult one because we perceive ourselves as photo specialists on the Dr. Photo side. Yep. Quality to us is really important. AI is pretty good, but it still doesn't, and I think to a large degree won't ever, for a big chunk of it, have that human nuance. Also, our experience of dealing with clients, often with back and forth briefs that are maybe half a brief. Good luck AI interpreting a lot of that. So there will be many things that AI can't do, but certainly where we can look to integrate AI to speed up a process for something that's quite simple for an agent, that's something that we're exploring at the moment. The second thing is on the studio side. So that's the point of view. When I say studio, I mean projects. So land and new homes support, design, branding, CGIs. We look at AI now as a tool that we can use. So whether it's upscaling a photo or a video so that it's higher quality compared to the asset that was given to us, whether it's helping us to do perhaps 25, 50% of a job when it comes to retouching, we still need to finish it to make it look better, but it does speed up the process, and it does mean that we can be more competitive when it comes to pricing.
But presumably, even if you weren't just labouring on price, it then gives you more budget into the specialist element of where your real team's creative value and everything like that. Exactly. Surely that must be the benefit that comes off. Would that be fair? Or
I absolutely. So started off saying that we've got 3 interior architects, stroke designers in the team. You guys really, your passion is in the design element. So if the CGI bit is sped up along that path with AI, then we look to utilise that so we can focus on the bits at the beginning. Yeah. Because often what happens is actually, because people are often in such a rush, we can talk about it in a minute. We're often the last thought, we need to go to market, so we need CGIs, but we do need to go to market in 3 days. If AI helps us deliver that, but gives us more time to do the thinking bit and work with the client at the beginning, then that's a cool thing for us.
Yeah, it's the grunt of the work. If something could do that in the future, that could kind of help us build the modelling side, and then we can use it for the creative side, I mean, we'd embrace that.
So that does the heavy lifting. You can come in and do the finessing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a good point, I think. The heavy lifting and grunt work is where I see the value of AI for us.
Great.
And this whole AI thing, sort of looking through it, we touched on it earlier about writing copy, you do virtual tours, you've got CGIs, VR. Where's the agent going to fit in? Are they going to become more of the sort of specialist telling you about the process rather than here's the dining room, here's the kitchen? Is the agent on their way out?
It's a really interesting perspective.
Don't be ridiculous.
Well, don't
be ridiculous. No, sorry about Chris, everyone.
No. So, funnily enough, we look at it as the opposite to that.
Okay.
So we would see the agent as the guys, the relationship builders, the salesmen. We look at where are we going to fit in. Actually, when it comes to me building my 5 to 10 year business plan, it's how much of why would an agent choose to come to us versus some whizzy AI that a spotty kid in his bedroom has built within 4 days that's doing something for free. I hope it doesn't get that way, but there's an element of me that I am fascinated, and I think it's amazing what AI can do. There's another part of me that is a bit worried about it. I think that the agent is ultimately, it's all based around people, right? And AI is never going to replace that. So I think that actually, funny enough, from a job role point of view, I think agents are safer than us, funny enough. So we need to keep pushing what we do, raising the bar in terms of the quality, number of products that we offer, and also for us it's been a case of going up that ladder that means that we're one step ahead of AI, and where we can integrate it into what we do to speed up processes, deliver what we do via AI rather than us.
I think if you look at what agents have done in the last few years, certainly the good ones, they've become brilliant marketeers, haven't they? They've really embraced it.
I've really seen
even
that.
just sort of the upping a brand.
100%.
Some of the campaigns. There's been some really clever campaigns that we've seen agents put out, and also, and just obviously the project that we worked on down in Bothersand. I think looking at the strategy that the agents pulled together, in conjunction with us and yourself, very compelling, and actual real value back to the developer, because actually they didn't need almost like these additional creative agencies, because it's hard. We knew what the buyers behaviours were and how to then present that in. And I think there was some really good ideas. What probably our problem was the execution, which is obviously where you guys came in and kind of brought that to life. So I think it's a hand in glove. I think they've definitely raised their game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you say around agents being marketeers now, something that I've noticed over certainly the last 24 months. Since the pandemic, I think people had time to think, stop and look at the market. Yeah. And it's really interesting because, like I said, coming from a corporate background, very marketing-led, coming into a estate agency around 7 years ago, I thought, bloody hell, everyone's so far behind. And it was fairly easy for us to bang the drum about improving marketing for a lot of these guys. But actually, over the last couple of years, it's slowly becoming the norm. I wouldn't say it's everywhere, but certainly lots of the clients that we work with are marketing-led.
Well, I just think back to some of our clients, and obviously I said we wouldn't talk about the pandemic word, but if you look at how quickly, certainly I feel that agents reacted, funny enough, much quicker than a lot of house builders did actually, in terms of embracing tech and other elements. I think they were well ahead of the game. And funny enough, I think there was a line that was used that was what the pandemic had done is actually sort of moved us forward by 5 years, way quicker. And as a result, everyone sort of become more efficient in their business. The marketing's been raised, different ways of sort of, things happening and being undertaken. And I was talking to an agent, funny enough, only earlier on, that they're still using a piece of tech that was used for sort of virtual viewings in the pandemic. They're still using it heavily in their lettings business. Okay. And they said that it stopped so much more of that time-wasting stuff. So whereas a lot of people have gone back to, we can get back to normal, actually, in their instance, they said, no, we really saved a load of time. So I think it has really sort of pushed things on, really.
So do you think your clients are seeing the true value now of what you do and how the process of CGI, or are there still some that are going, it's going to take how long, or
I definitely
going to cost how much?
Yeah, it's true. I think there's some that definitely appreciate it and can understand. Yeah. But there are some that I feel like we do need to kind of say the process to them to make them understand how long this is going to take because of how much building and how much rendering time. I think people forget we constantly have our computers rendering overnight.
Yeah, literally, we've got 3 computers pretty much that render 24 hours a day.
Well, we talked about this before we came on to record, didn't we? This sort of price battle or whatever. You can get a job done quickly, but it won't be very good, and the quality is going to be really low. Yeah, and just something even on render, obviously. Appreciate that for most people the sort of process of render is not appreciated, but it's pretty complex, isn't it? Certainly to get the output of we're not even in an HD world now, we're in a 4K world, aren't we? And
almost 8K. Sometimes we're in 16K. We've
really?
done so rendering animation. We can do 16K.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the fact that it can keep going up and up, like you said, technology is increasing. Technically, the longer it's going to take as well to get that.
It's really interesting because on the one side you've got AI, like ChatGPT that you talked about, that's pretty much instant. Yeah. Photo retouching AI that's instant. On the other side, rendering hasn't actually caught up yet. Yeah. I imagine there will be a time where it pretty much is instant, but I think we're a few years off. Yeah. There's a lot that needs to be done. We can send them off to rendering farms. But I mean, it's
a funny concept.
Yeah, it's a weird concept.
Matrix.
I know.
That's if we're really, really busy, then we'll do that.
Yeah.
But generally, we rely on our own hardware, which is locked away in a safe.
And how about the stuff that's been submitted? Have some people been totally seduced by what you do to the point where they just take a picture and don't really care what's in it, thinking, we'll do that in post-production?
It is an interesting one, actually. We've got some clients on the Dr. Photo side that are frankly quite lazy. And we can almost guarantee that, the camera bag, shoes, nearly every day. I mean, it's up to them. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's good business for us. We would always recommend that it is best to physically stage things as well as you can. For us, the pandemic, I don't want to dwell on that. But actually, it helped us in a way because people didn't want to touch things. Yeah. Things like bins, actually, people didn't want to touch that. Yeah. We still see a lot of that, so we're still taking out bins and cars and things like that, we will tidy up, especially when it comes to lettings. Actually, we're quite useful because, the last thing is you want to lift some pants off a radiator. Tenants don't care, and
no,
so
they're not selling it. It's not their problem.
We're a good sort of backup for those agents that still care about it, and I think more and more agents do care these days. They can't physically touch things. We will declutter.
Well, and the flip side of that is something we spoke about briefly earlier, which is in some of your renders now, you're actually adding those human frailties
it's really interesting.
to make it look, the remote control suddenly appeared.
There's a request to put pants on radiators. Come
on.
If you want it to look real in this build to rent, stick some pants on.
Yeah.
Right.
As long as they're nice.
But it's really interesting because we were looking at our CGIs and we were just saying, yes, they are good CGIs, but we're not tricking people to think that they're real.
Yep.
And that is our goal, is photorealistic CGIs. And what is photorealistic? It is dirt on a skirting board.
Yeah.
It's, hand marks on windows. Let's not emphasize it in the
CGI,
but we really want to add those bits just for someone to quickly trick their mind. Is this real? Is this actually built, or is it not? Yeah. So that's what we're trying to build each time now.
Yeah.
What can we do?
It's a big part of our learning at the moment.
Yeah.
Big brands like IKEA, the majority of their imagery is CGI, but you wouldn't know it. And that's because two things, really. One is little scratches on cupboards and that kind of thing. Number two is, as you say, the lifestyle piece with remote controls and that kind of thing, pants on radiators. Don't go that far.
Yeah.
But we do actually look to add little human elements in our CGIs that give it that nice little human nuance. Adding animals. Sounds silly, but often we get asked to take animals out of photos, and sometimes our heart breaks because actually we think it's good value if it's a nice animal.
Humanises it though, doesn't
it?
It does, absolutely.
Someone has lived in that place. Not, so we love to put maybe a cat on a bed sleeping, or...
We're working on a project at the moment for a large care home, and one of the big things with the care home is they can have pets. And so actually a big focus of this CGI is following a cat around the apartment as the animation goes through. Yep. We think actually when it comes to advertising, there's a lot of data that suggests that adding an animal actually improves that brand equity and also their affinity to whatever it is they're selling, whether it's a bog roll or a house. Actually, why not, as you say, humanize it? So we're looking at that more and more every day, and for us we think that's an innovation actually.
But isn't that interesting, back slightly on the AI, but that humanization of an image or the sanity check on an image, you could almost fall into this trap, couldn't you? Right, AI, it's done its thing, bang. Who actually looks at it and says, actually, that looks really fake, or doesn't really represent, does that form part of your processes internally, or? Yeah,
definitely. We go through a lot of quality control, and actually there's many times where we basically just stand behind each other's desks. There's a whole blog dedicated to, I don't know if you've seen art directors standing behind people's desks. That happens basically on a daily...
Chris and
as the art director, Kevin.
So any chance of putting this back on today, actually? But
it's a big sanity check. A, it's nice that the guys can share their work, but B, it just gives that chance for people to be like, have you tried doing that?
It is, and it's questioning things that people don't question. If you say silly, it's not a silly question when you do it. So if you just say that, like, is this right? And they go, oh no, okay, let's change it.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
Well, I think more often than not, it's the things that don't look right, just immediately don't look right. It jars, doesn't it? You can't say why, but it's when you put those little final details in that suddenly, you're not thinking, there's a cat in it, therefore it looks real. It just is happening in, sort of subconsciously.
Yeah.
I think it's experience that's helped us get there now.
Yeah.
Over the years, I think if I look back at what we did 6 years ago, I might be horrified. But the expectations and actually the market in general back then were very different to where they are now.
Yeah.
Expectations of our customers now are like leap years ahead.
But that is the interesting bit, isn't it? What AI is going to end up doing again, I'm guessing, is that it's much like we said, that jump of 5 years that, in process, whatever, what is the output? We all thought of the TVs that we bought 5 years ago had a fantastic picture, and then all of a sudden you look at it and go, actually, by the time you've had the latest Sky installed or whatever else, all of a sudden, God, that was a terrible picture on the old TV. Yeah. The speed of this innovation is really exciting, certainly from a marketing perspective, from thinking where we can embrace it and go. But
yeah, definitely. So when it comes to marketing new homes, we're trying our best to keep up and embrace what's out there. We do have something that's coming to market later in this year, actually. It's a partnership with a company over in Europe that kind of takes VR to the next level. I'm going to go into it live in front of all my competitors now, but it's quite exciting. But there are, when we look at innovation, there is obviously the prop tech, the techie side, and I like to think that we're keeping up in terms of our delivery. There's also sort of the softer marketing side. For us, we feel that innovation within property marketing actually can be, in some cases, fixing the basics and doing what's done very well in other industries. So bringing in what perhaps the car industry has done for years. And that's actually been a big part of our people strategy. So hiring in non-sort of property designers to give another take on how we might brand a development and that kind of thing.
And that's just picking up on that then. So in terms of the user experience as an example, and particularly new homes, are you already building solutions that can look at a house type and say, well, actually, I don't want that kitchen. It's looking at how sort of car manufacturers, right, I can choose I want that seat and that seat, or I want that kitchen door or that. Are you already doing that within?
Yes, so we actually do offer that as a service already. And it's called DCTR, and people can change materials as they walk around the building. So that is definitely a solution. The other thing that I think we're doing more and more of at the moment, funnily enough, is it's a really interesting perspective, because on the one side, people do want that personalization and the interactivity. On the other side, we also, when you look at the data and metrics, actually, people are scrolling through social media. They just want video. They just want to be served video. They don't want to click through and then have to deal with stuff. They want it to be done for them. So from an innovation point of view, animation, CG animation, video is a big thing that we're also focusing on. So whether that's a still image with a bit of animation that's going on around it, or whether that's a full-blown animation like we created for Bovesand, we think that in itself actually is a piece of innovation that property sector is still fairly slow to pick up on. There's certainly been an explosion of normal resi estate agent video. I mean, it's everywhere. It's on LinkedIn. People are doing a great job, by the way. I'm seeing it everywhere. But I think from a CGI perspective, there is an opportunity. When we're briefed to give a quote, 99.999% of the time we will be asked for an image, which is fine. We can give that quote. We will say to that client often, if you did want to animate it, it's going to cost this much more, which in some cases doesn't have to be a huge step up, because we've already created the model. And we render it in a slightly different software, but it's what was traditionally 15, 20 grand might now be 2 to 3 grand. Because of technology, it's a lot quicker for us to do. But the application of that animation means that you can actually use it on background. The website, like you did with Bovesand, gives a really nice impression. You can use it on social media. You can use it. You can share it on an email. We use a program called pitch.com, which I recommend if you want to send out pitches. And with something like that, you can actually automatically play video as part of your pitch. Things like that, I think, automatically show you as an agent that cares about your marketing or taking it to that next level. Is something that we still kind of rarely see really in the market. Or if we do see video, we often see it as not great. So it tends to, there is a fair bit of video out there, CG animation, that is, it's got that weird man walking, and then it's that plinky plonky Facebook music in the background, which we hate. So we're very lifestyle driven with all the the CG animation that we create. So you kind of think of the end user that might buy this place.
Yeah, because we really kind of see ourselves as a videographer would in real life and how we do it virtually.
Yeah.
So we think as a videographer, how would we go through the property? Would you do like depth of field, going through the sofa, going through this? That's how a videographer would do it.
Yeah.
How would we do it? So and then adding cooler music.
Yeah.
That's what I thought what you did on Bobasan was exceptional. I thought, what that delivered us in terms of marketing, the dreaminess of the location, that music, as you've said, how it sort of then panned down and across and through. I thought it was absolutely spot on, and obviously the client really raved about it. But I can remember going back, not that many years ago, that would have cost a bomb.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it just shows that, pound for pound in a marketing budget, you can get a lot more for your money, can't you, in terms of an output.
Absolutely. So without talking too much about all of our trade secrets of software, but we use real-time rendering, and it is a lot quicker. So it's almost like a game. It's great fun to make, although tell Tony and Amy that, I'm not sure. But it looks really fun. Anyway.
But that's all back to the UX, though, isn't it? That, if you're, if I'm the consumer and, I'm going to go and weigh out whether I'm going to go travelling all the way down to Devon from Guildford, for example, to go and view a property. The fact that I could largely have felt that actually I'm going to get there and this is actually really true of what I think.
Yeah.
It's that speed thing. It's the time, isn't it? And we're all time poor. But, this innovation stuff really makes a difference. And I think that it's quite noticeable then that when you can see that so many developments are almost being sort of marketed on a very cheap budget, it all looks... I think now that whole game is massively raised, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And also because we're digesting content quicker, we get bored of content quicker as well, don't we? So that fact that, you can take 6 or 7 different angles from a render or whatever, it's
Absolutely.
all great. It's all great collateral to have back in the mix.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I guess if you think about the process, when someone's buying a home, if they're anyone like me, you like to talk to other people about it before you go ahead, and you like to share it with your friends. The nice thing about video is it's highly shareable on WhatsApp, that kind of thing. It's easier in a way to share video than it is a VR tour, because you're like, okay, now we click in, now press that. If you press that button, it'll go there. By the time you've done that, you've lost them. We are looking at ways to improve that, by the way. But the nice thing about video is that it's shareable. So we worked on a project last year for a company actually outside of property marketing. They were a luxury pagoda fitter, and it was on behalf of a very famous footballer who was having this pagoda fitted. So he'd already paid for this thing, and it was going to be fitted. Interesting marketing strategy for this company was they wanted to get him excited. So they wanted us to create a 20-second snappy, quite trendy looking CG animation of this pagoda with exactly the model of his house, showing the gym equipment, by the way, that was going in this thing. And the whole point, it was very, very simple principle of we want him to be so wowed by this that he shares it with all of his mates on the team. And that's the thing, is sharing something as easy as video, like you could just... They didn't deliver it by email, by the way. They delivered it by WhatsApp. Because that's how he rolls. Like, he's a busy guy. He's got so many Range Rovers. He hasn't got time to open up an email. But it allowed him to be like, oh, by the way, look at this. This is what's going to be built in the next couple of months. And he was like, oh my God, guys, this is great. Whole point was
shows everybody.
Do
you think there'll come a time with the sort of virtual side of it, you could actually do away with the show home and it could just be a virtual...
Interesting question.
That is a hard question.
You're the interior architect.
I personally think your first reaction to a home can be virtual.
Yep.
But a show home is important in the process. I think touching things, seeing things in real life is quite important. But to get the overall perspective and understanding, to initially get someone to go to the show home is also really important. So virtually, to get something as accurate as a show home, I think they have to be very good transitional period where they coincide with each other. But for me, I still think a show home is important. But
I think it is, but I think again, keep going back to Boversand.
Yeah.
There's a fantastic interior designer that's working on that project. It was going to be months and months and months before we could actually see this wonderful design brought in.
Yeah, exactly.
And what I thought was incredibly clever of what you guys did and what they did was giving you every item of furniture that they were actually going to put into a well-curated, well-designed show home, right down to the fabric, the paint colours, the blinds,
cutlery.
The whatever.
We had to put the specific spoons in there.
Really?
But it was actually, not that we've still got show home, but actually knowing what's going in, it wouldn't be a surprise when I did get there. One, I'd obviously be blown away by the location, because that was obviously a key feature of the selling point, but actually what the CGI virtual tour would have done would absolutely have backed up that thing. I think the show home, why it's so key, is a bit like a car manufacturer puts all this detail into specification. That's what you need to pop when you're walking in, isn't it? And that's what the interior design show home scheme does, rather than walking into a house that you'll be very often, I'm sure, photoshopping furniture in. But the reality is I'm walking into a cold house, heating's not on, no carpets in, let alone any furniture. It just doesn't hit the so what factor, in my opinion. So
no, exactly. I think interior design is really important in the show home, and like you said, it's to do it virtually first. It's all the expectations, and even currently, right now, we're doing a project for quite a large BTR company, and they want us to virtually put the furniture in to make sure that they can order it properly.
Yeah.
So we're doing the layouts and making sure every measurement, if the sofa fits, if it looks right, we're doing that all virtually first. So then they can order mass production.
Yeah, they have like 600 apartments.
To make sure that everything fits first.
Wouldn't it be interesting though to think that they'd actually brought on board their sort of their chosen interior designer to come up with the broad concept of styling or style solutions, whatever.
Yeah.
That then you could model.
That's exactly what's
happening.
happening.
Right, great.
Working with 2 interior designers that they've brought on board.
And again, it's so they've come up with their mood boards and concepts, and they just want us to bring it to life first to make sure that everything works before they actually go ahead with it.
I don't think a lot of developers know or agents know that you could do that.
Yeah.
So the whole point of actually engaging a proper show home designer to come up with that mood board, to think that, and I was fascinated with the Boversand one, that even picking up that fabric detailing, and the interior designers were brilliant, sort of giving all the codes to everything, but perfect. How that sort of came alive was just so good. And the client was blown away.
The cool thing as well is that they can reuse these tools when they go to market. So it's playing 2 roles there. It's helping them decide on what they're about to spend, presumably millions of pounds on this furniture for 600 apartments, and then they're able to then apply it to their website. We're accessorising them, bring them up to speed from a marketing perspective, and it's actually playing a marketing role as well. So when a developer looks at it that way, actually, when it comes to cost versus opportunity versus risk, VR is definitely worth it.
Yeah.
But I use the example again that, we've ended up with a great product to actually use in the marketing, but because we've paid for that tool to be created, we're equally then showcasing that to other developers as the agent who are pitching for new home sites, and almost this is coming out like part of our toolbox or this compendium of things that we've done, almost like the case study. So, well, actually, we did this is what it's going to, and I know you've had that from the client in Staines, I think, that are going to go down that route.
Yeah, we have,
as well.
And it's made and it's looking good.
Looking really good.
Love to see that. So, share that.
Yeah. The other point actually is we've brought to life marketing suites, so not just the show home.
Right.
I mean, granted, we had bigger business in it during the pandemic because no one could go out, but there is an opportunity there too, because our virtual reality tools are interactive. It's actually quite nice, especially if someone's relocating from one part of the country or even another country, to actually bring it to life from a marketing suite point of view. Really cool what we've done in the past. Can't talk about the client because we're under NDA. Big client.
Go on. Go on.
Cut it out. Yeah. Big insurer, that's what I'm saying.
God, I can't believe you work for them.
Yeah. So they actually instructed us to create a marketing suite based on all of the specifications of what their suite would look like in real life. And within it, this is a really cool thing, we modeled the houses as you would with a normal 3D, real life 3D model in the middle of the suite. And then you could click on each of the houses and then go on a tour around them. Right. So as though you're in the suite, around the suite, we brought to life the brand. So it had videos all about how they made these houses, the craftsmanship behind it. We had a kitchen area that showed all the different types of kitchens. So everything that you would expect to see in the real world marketing suite, we did virtually. I think that we've got some time off that being the norm, but I can see that in the future. I think a big unlock for all of this will be AR. I think that as we've seen with the metaverse, VR, it still takes time for people to get their head around. We've seen whether with the metaverse, especially, 200 or 300 people logging into this £1 billion thing that they've created. However, I think the big unlock for the metaverse will be AR, and that's something that we're certainly looking at over the next couple of years. So some of our software does have AR capabilities. Shall I explain what AR is?
Sorry, augmented reality.
It's augmented reality. Yeah.
Okay. So if you would, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the next step up from virtual reality. So virtual reality is closed off, doesn't take into account the surrounding environment. Augmented reality is when you're augmenting the environment around you. So there'll be some sort of virtual overlay.
Right.
I'm talking like proper future, but at the moment, the way that technology is going, it could be a couple of years, not 10 years, like I currently think it is. But the idea of walking into a cold house, I don't think will be the case in the next 5, 10, 15 years, perhaps. There will be the opportunity to provide a virtual overlay that shows A, what it would look like furnished, B, it's going to be so clever that it's going to have your kids running around. The whole lifestyle piece will be, it'll almost be gone are the days of having a cold and empty house. It's all going to come alive with augmented reality. But I think that's going to be a big unlock to the whole virtual reality and marketing suite piece for sure.
So that's kind of like if somebody buys into the whole package.
Yeah. But
there are going to be others, might be down to budget, size of the development, or it's just a single house that they're selling. What's the danger of just cherry picking, and how do you get them to make sure that they spend that the right way rather than blowing it all on one element and it sits alone in this terrible Word document?
So we definitely love to provide a holistic service and set of marketing assets. There's a number of reasons for that. Number one, it means that everything ties together. So great example, actually, the project that we're working on for Stains. When it comes to the brochure design and the artwork in the interior CGI that you'll be seeing, it all completely ties together. In fact, it's the same front cover, it's the same design. And so when you have these CGIs given to you by someone else somewhere else has created these CGIs for the agent, our heart sometimes drops because it doesn't fit in with the rest of the brochure that we're creating on the mini website. And so we love to be able to kind of holistically create all the assets. We always have the same project team within our studio, and they'll be talking to each other. It also comes down to things like floor plans and site plans. Again, what happens is we get asked to take a CGI, we create a CGI for an agent. They'll then add it to their normal resi brochure, and then they'll use some really poor black and white floor plans, which they might be using on a day-to-day basis, but it's not reflective of this beautiful crafted new property.
I'm quite passionate about floor plans.
You do have a passionate.
And estate agents
said no whenever.
Yeah, I know. And I'm really trying to push for, one, accuracy. I feel like estate agent floor plans can sometimes not be as accurate as they could be. And two, the ease to understand the space is so easy on a floor plan, but you can make it so interesting by even just adding different branding colours, shadows, people, even in 2D, it's just seeing people, so it gives it scale. It's just the simple ways that we want to make sure that we can complement the branding, the brochure, the CGIs. So having the floor plans and the site plan all coming together it's just an easier fix.
You're talking our language. We did a brochure last week, and we're trying to help out one of our agents that were, trying to pull together their sales particulars or whatever. So it's a bit more of a uplifted set of particulars. And the professional photographer's gone in, they've done their stuff, and you guys have already helped with sorting out the front of the house in terms of the driveway. And the specification text all read good, location read good. And I turned the page on the PDF and I got to the floor plan, and I was like, oh my God. And it was the floor plan from the working drawings.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God, like, how's this? So I phoned the client and sort of we talked about it and said, yeah, well, he didn't want to spend the extra whatever amount or couldn't, whatever. And I'm like, you're talking about 50 quid or I don't know, whatever amount of money, like, just get it done. And we had quite a debate in-house to just how bad it was.
Well, it ruins the consistency. You spent all that time coming up with a look and a brand, and then you totally undermine
it completely wrecked it. And it was like, right, we need to sort it out. So we're on your page on that one.
Not only does it look poor, but it's really hard to read. Like, working drawings are really hard for the average consumer.
Yeah.
Often the measurements aren't even on there, and you're going to have to do it by scale for us when we're building them. But
that's what I said I was talking through with the agent. I said, well, hold on, we need to actually go out and measure this and just check that those walls are where they say they are, and from a point of accuracy. But no, it's all
for us. And it goes back to what I said at the beginning about definitely make sure you're fixing the basics. High quality photography. I know the Dr. Photo side of our business has been banging on about that for 7 years. We still see really poor quality photos. We were reviewing as a team yesterday a brochure that another developer had made, and what made it so special was literally the images. It was so high quality. They were not stocky. They were not stock images. They were really beautiful. They were really lifestyle driven. And most of this brochure was just image after image, big, like double page spread images with a tiny little bit of text in the corner, maybe say what the location is. Yeah. But instantly, your impression of that development was just like far gone beyond a lot of the images, photos that are provided to us. So high quality photos, good-looking, professional floor plans that actually complement the CGIs and the brochure branding that you're trying to deliver.
And I think
really important.
It's what you said before, Kevin. It's the strategy before you even start doing the marketing. It's taking that time to think, what am I doing this for, and how can I apply it to the right demographic? And so it's just having that extra time that we would love to be on board with. So we love to collaborate in the briefing moments, because we can then suggest, okay, if you want to do it like this, we can give you the brochure, we can give you the floor plans. But if you want the animation, we can create a mini site for you to apply that animation for. So we love to just collaborate at the start of it to make sure that you can get the best out of it.
Definitely. No, I remember working on some projects with Barclays over the year, and obviously if you've done any Barclay work, they've got an incredible in-house photographer, Simon and Simon Winston. When you look at, I always just sit in envy of sort of going through their sort of online media gallery of all these sort of images or whatever, and it just did it. You didn't need to say anything. They were so good. And I really put him up there, and as absolutely one of the best. And their marketing is exceptional anyway. But I think it does really emphasise your point there that the theme, the style that you're creating does really carry through to the rest of the project, doesn't it? So
I think I saw that he's been with Barclay for 25 years.
I saw that as well. So
congratulations if you're watching.
I'm going to tag him in on this podcast. So Simon,
cool.
Simon, you've made a massive impact on us all. So absolutely, your work is top class.
Being a purist, he probably hates us retouchers. But I'd like to say it's been a pleasure to work on your work. Pixel perfect. We do the odd bit of retouching for Barclay. It helps them get to market faster. It might be that we change a few materials and some of their visuals just to show different specifications that might be available now compared to when they went to market a few months previously. But we've been working with Barclay for quite a few years, and for us it's helped us, I think, raise the game in terms of we kind of know the expectations out there, because I think from a developer point of view, and the investment they put into marketing and the expectations, you probably can't get much higher than Barclay. So we've certainly had to raise our game over the last couple of years of doing it to keep up. And the good thing is we can kind of apply that to the rest of our clients. You know, we know what's expected.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because I can think exactly the same. Some of the projects I worked on with Barclay early on in my career, you go on a very fast learning, you know, and even as an agent, so we're a supplier, but you're embraced into this sort of partnership culture rather than you're just the agent or whatever. You know, we were really part of the whole thing from interior conversation and just working alongside some of the fantastic people like Pidgley and whatever that were in that group. You know, you really, and you can, you know, look, it's the benefit, isn't it? You know, it's your IP that you are then sharing with the rest of your clients.
Absolutely. And it's nice because they do think outside of the box as well. A couple of ways. A couple of projects we've been working on them recently is development that has interesting shape apartments. So the role of the VR tour for that we created was to bring to life how furniture might be fitting in those interesting shapes. And to prove actually, on a floor plan, on a flat 2D, it does look a bit interesting angles, but it can work. And they were really pleased with those, which is great. Good, The second thing is they haven't quite got to the augmented reality stage, but I have seen they've got an immersion room. I can't remember what development it was, but it's like a 360 VR that you're standing within.
Right.
So in other words, you imagine you're in that space. It's actually, you can actually turn around. There's none of this. They've got the insight that you've just given. That's a faff to put on the goggle. Yeah. It's actually projected on. I
feel really disorientated when I've got them on, so for me it's not the thing. So
and I think things like that, as they become more and more accessible with technology, will become more of the norm. So, like I said, it might be the next step on with augmented reality, is that actually it's just a plain 4 walls, but actually it's being projected in there, and you can imagine that space, and you can change the room. You know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, good
stuff. Well, I think final question, you know, obviously principally it's all about property, but do you see yourself doing more stuff outside of the property with the skills and marketing you've got?
I mean, I'm personally from a retail and commercial background, so I love to have pushed more for maybe retail, even hospitality. The fact that hotels, they still need to understand, you know, rooms, like interior design and that, visualizing the space, communal rooms. I feel like kind of the world is our oyster in that sense. Like we can really push forward. So, and even just the floor plans and site plans of a hotel, they can have massive grounds. Yeah. They need to think about those spaces and design them. So, yeah, the potential is great, isn't it?
Yeah, the built environment in general, there's a lot more than just estate agency and developers. And I think over the last the journey I've been on with Dad when he started the business, it was 100% estate agents back then, and we've naturally, organically, never really advertised to developers over the years, taken on bigger and bigger developers. Now we have started to work with care homes, build to rent, housing associations, and like you say, there's definitely an opportunity in terms of retail, hospitality, restaurants, anything with bricks.
So I guess the thing for me with you guys is obviously it must be, you know, you're in a place where tech and innovation is so exciting, you know, with that new bit of gear that comes through, you know, you're probably sort of jumping on it or whatever, you know, where do you see it? What's next?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question actually. For us, it's a bit like trying to choose the right path, because there are so many different paths that we can go down. Do we keep it within the industry that we're in? Do we carry on focusing on the services that we provide, or do we look at other services? For us, I think but certainly this year, 23, we've been through a lot of innovation and change over the last 24 months especially. Our team has doubled. We've actually, we've trained up, we've taken experience around us and employed it and basically applied it to the industry we're in. For us, this year is about bedding down, sharing the great work that we've done, because it's funny, some of our projects can take 6 months. We've got a project that's been 3 years. Right. I just want to share it, but I can't because it's not gone live yet. We want to share the great work that we've done across CGI, branding, retouching, and continue, I think, to kind of build on that platform that we've got. In terms of the future, yes. So I said there's a VR thing coming down the track this year. We also have a bit of a VR stroke animation piece of innovation that we're trying to create at the moment. But we don't want to put all the focus on these new products when we've got such a huge amount of innovation that we have already created. We need to bed that in.
How do you think the UK property market and house builders fare in the worldwide scene? Is there anything that you've seen in another country that hasn't got here yet, or that you think is so out there? Or do you think actually, do you know what, UK property marketing, we're not doing a bad job?
Yeah, it's funny enough. I think when I first started with that, I would say we were not doing a great job. Look at Australia, America, what they're doing. Some of the videos when I first started about 5 or 6 years ago coming out of Australia were just incredible. And they were going viral on the Daily Mail because they were just great and out there. Right now, I think the UK, to be honest, is certainly getting up there with what I was seeing 5 years ago. I think we should definitely, there's a lot, podcasts, reading, lots of people put the marketing industry within property down. But I think certainly the last 24 months, everyone has really upped their game. And I guess as we come into a tougher market, people are going to raise their game further. For those that don't raise their game, perhaps it's going to be an unfortunate ending. But you can really tell the difference when you're scrolling on Rightmove. Quality photos versus poor photos. You can really tell the difference now, I think, in terms of CGI, poor CGI versus good CGI. I think there's a lot that we can still learn, and it's not necessarily something that we can take internationally now. I think it's just look at other industries as well within the UK. Yeah. So for me, I always think of, I like to apply the property industry to the car industry that we have in the UK. It's very, very similar.
I do that frequently.
Do you? Yeah, I do that all the time. But I do think that it is really similar because, normal resi agent, similar to, I'm not going to say used car salesman, in other words, you're shifting second-hand items. Then you have the bling of the BMW showroom. Again, you can apply that principle to a show house.
Well, it's a journey, isn't it?
It is
it's the
definitely
customer
a journey. Absolutely. And you look at some of the brands now in the auto industry that are killing it, and what could you apply to property? So Tesla, really famous for the journey that customers go on there, right from going on the website and be able to choose all the different elements, but it's really, really simple. There's no faff. Because I think traditionally 5 or 6 years ago, the car websites were a bit of a faff. I think they've improved. And I think that, look outside, look at what the FMCG, what cars, what any of these, B&Q, IKEA, what are they doing with their brand and the product that they're trying to shift in a different way that we're not doing in the property industry? And that's what we try and do. And we have every couple of weeks as a team, we sit down and we share stuff from outside of the industry. It could be a bit of advertising comms that we really liked, or it could be just some really nice visuals. And we've got lots of really nice ideas, which we often bring up with developers that come to us with a project. There is still a lot of fear. I think that a lot of developers and land and new home agents can still be, they're not huge risk takers, so they want to bring it back to the bread and butter, CGI, brochure, floor plans, and that's fine. But if you had perhaps an interesting development, you wanted to try something different, we're your guys, because we have some really great ideas that we'd love to apply and bring something to life in a different way to the expected. And that's what cuts through from a PR perspective, gets noticed when someone's looking through Rightmove.
But isn't it back to just the basic that, and this is obviously something that I remember your dad, I don't know your dad particularly, but obviously his work sort of is a bit of legend really in the sense of a lot of agents over the years. And even that basic thing of just getting the photo right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, getting the photo right. Okay, you might not be able to get the bang on image. Obviously, he was sort of early, the early one out there of sorting that out, but equally taking and training agents to take great pictures.
Yeah.
He must look back proud as punch of where you're sort of taking the business, but equally of where you take, where you started, what your roots were really, because it's a hell of a foundation, isn't it, in terms of just getting the presentation right of properties and that detail, that sort of real care to kind of present, particularly whether it's a second-hand home or a new build, but to present it as the architect or the person that's putting their money behind, all that investment that goes into building a great product, the pride that anyone, whether it's an owner of a house builder or even the owner of a home, to kind of see that come to life as it was intended, well ahead of the actual thing being built and all the, nuances that go into the build process. You must be...
Yeah, I definitely owe a lot to Dad in terms of the platform that we started with, and the founding principles that he had. I'm treating him like the Colonel from KFC here, still alive, live and kicking. Dad's actually still very active in the industry. He's
definitely on LinkedIn.
He's certainly on LinkedIn, doing a good job he's a content influencer, producer on LinkedIn. Not necessarily active in our studio for the last couple of years, but certainly likes to bang the drum for what we do and what we believe in. And as you say, those founding principles of getting something right, one of Dad's terms that he always talked about was, developer could have spent £30,000 on a brand new kitchen, but if the photos are poor, it might look like the lower deck of Noah's Ark in a nasty storm. And that's, we are seeing a transition, I think. Finally, people... I wouldn't say it's all down to Dad, but he's certainly been a very strong advocate in the industry for it. It's about getting that presentation right, getting the quality of the photos, quality of your marketing up to, at the end of the day, it's an investment and it's going to deliver you more value at the end. Okay, you might think, oh God, it's going to cost me $2,500. Do I really want to do this? But if it's going to deliver you another 10 grand on the asking price, then actually... it's well and truly worth it. And the other point is, I think we've seen over the last couple of years, certainly there's been some interesting briefs from smaller developers that want to appear larger because they've got big aspirations, quite rightly.
But isn't that right now that we've all got a channel? Yeah. We've all got an audience, we've got channels, we've got the same channels as everyone else. Yeah. It's just how we use them.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's why I think video's just played a massive part.
Absolutely,
There's plenty of people that are doing video on the iPhone, but equally there's people that are using the sort of gear that we've got here today. And
definitely.
Really up in production quality and sort of putting effort into, how the people are engaging, just the lighting, we've had this conversation, haven't we, Chris?
Yeah, it's
even on our own thing, it's
playing field now, isn't it?
I think so. It's really leveled up.
Definitely. And I think traditionally, 5 years ago, Dad may well have put pretty much all the focus on just the photo, because back then, frankly, video didn't play such a large role. Yep. Dad talks to me about how he was the pioneer in Surrey, pretty much, one of the first estate agents to use video in his agency 20 years ago. He would have, I don't know what you call them, because I'm too young. Yeah. The big things on your shoulder. And he would put a massive TV set on his desk, and he would put the tape into the TV and press play and get people that came into his office to come and watch it. And it was really innovative back then. And I guess my job has just been to take those principles and apply it to the stuff that's kind of now. Photos still play a huge role, but there are other assets when it comes to marketing a new build.
It's all part of the marketing mix, isn't it, really?
Exactly. It's definitely worked throughout, because in the studio you can see and sense John's influence and the values and, his beliefs. It is all through the team now because of what John started. So it's nice that it's come from John, now moved to Tom, and now all the team is now understanding, let's be creative and let's be innovative. Innovative. I can't say it. Yeah. So
thanks, Dad.
So when he retired or left the business or left the building, did he steal all of the O's on the keyboards? Is that why you can't? Is that why you can't have an O in the logo? Did he steal the?
Part of that is the O.
Yeah.
He was fully supportive of the DCTR. I mean, if you really want to know...
Yeah, but it's not DCTR, it's Doctor, isn't it?
No, I know he's Doctor, but the DCTR elements of it, if I'm being completely transparent, it was available as a domain name, and I thought it sounded cool. I wouldn't recommend having a brand name that has multiple ways to say it, but it's cool. It makes us different. And Dad was fully supportive of it at the time.
Good.
Okay, well, I think that's a good place to round it off. I'd like to thank my guests again, Tom and Bex from DCTR.
Thanks for coming over, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Or Doctor, as they like to be known. And as we've just heard exclusively, they do like all the vowels equally. If you want to hear any more from Tom, you can hear him on his podcast, The Property Marketing Show, which he does with Neil Whitfield. No relation to June for our older viewers. So thanks very much, guys. Thank you for your time, your insight. It's been brilliant. Kevin, thank you.
No, thank you, Chris.
You are Goose to my Maverick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We'll be back
soon.
Couldn't do it without
you, Chris.
Well, I know. We'll be back soon with another edition of The Plotting Shed. Thank you very much.